Two social workers on a mission to change the narrative, Millennial Babies podcast seeks to empower others in making changes to maintain their physical, emotional, and mental health. This podcast is about becoming the best version of ourselves. I hope you feel inspired. Join Bria Spencer and Fadia Jean-Pierre bi-weekly as they initiate conversations about mental health, fitness, and travel. Share this with someone who needs it. Follow us on Instagram at millennial_babes_podcast, and let's continue the conversation.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Millennial Babes podcast. We are excited to have you here with us because we have a special guest. And our guest here today is Laterras Whitefield, who is a 3-time regional and Emmy-nominated filmmaker, national playwright, director, producer, servant of God, and foster and adoption advocate. Laterras is also the host of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. He is here with us today to talk about how men and women can prepare in fighting their future husband and wife. We are excited and we can't wait to have this conversation. Laterras, is there anything you would like for our audience to know about you that we did not share?
No, I think you covered. You did a great job covering everything. So, hey, let's have fun.
I'm so excited, for our conversation today. And so I wanted to ask you, Laterras, what inspired you to start Dear Future Wifey podcast?
Well, what made me launch at the time that I did, which was the first episode was released on YouTube on April the 15th and everywhere else podcasts are listened to. I launched it due to the pandemic. I have a video production company, and during the time, I said, I don't have any clients. And God said, make you your client. And when God told me to make myself my client, all the stuff that I kept doing for my clients, producing promotional content, working on commercials, even producing their podcast, God said, do the same thing for yourself. You've been talking about doing the podcast for over a year and you haven't found time to do it. And so now is the season. You have no excuses because you have nothing but time on your hand because you are sheltered in place. Come on, somebody. So
yes, you're sheltered in place. Quarantine. I think that's the whole point of quarantine. It's like quarantine really shifted. It shifted us. It shifted our perspective. It took us in a different direction to really look at the things that you want to do, that you're interested in, and say, okay, listen, if you're talking about this, it's a breakthrough. I think it's like you're saying you want this, you want to do this, you want to pursue this, you have this purpose you want to follow. So what are you waiting for?
Right.
What are you waiting for?
And it's so important to be still, to be able to hear that message from God, to be able to know which direction to go to.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because even just piggybacking off of that, like just thinking about our experience with creating our podcast, and again, just sharing, I have going through grief with my father and having him pass away. Even through that, I had to still be silent and be able to hear what God's message was for me, not so that I can get through my grief and what does that strength look like. And also knowing that as it's like everything was happening all together, grieving, but also asking God, I know I have this gift. I know that there is more for me to do. Yes, I'm a social worker and I went through that calling, but there's something more. Help me, show me what it is that I need to do. And it was just, I was like, my podcast, I want to do a podcast. And I had no idea who I wanted to do it with. I didn't want to do it by myself. And then Fadia and I were just having a conversation. And I was just like, this is it. She's the person that I need to do the podcast with. We align with each other. We have so many similarities. And even just how we've grown throughout the quarantine up until now, like our faith has been strengthened. We've seen so much breakthrough. And so I resonate with having to be still to hear God's word to tell you what your purpose and direction is. And look, here we are. You have your podcast and we have our podcast, changing lives.
That's what it's about.
So yeah, especially I think for me this morning, I had a breakthrough because I woke up and I felt like I was worshiping this morning and I felt different doing it. And it's just like, it just made me feel like I was like, God, like whatever it is that you're using me for, here I am. And then from listening to your podcast, you came up with the right? Acronym, which is like living intentionally and transparently. Share more about that.
Well, I believe that we have choices in life. I say one of the quotes that God gave me last year was, honesty is simply telling the truth when asked a question. Transparency is telling me what I don't even know to ask. And what I desire is transparency. I desire people in my life, especially when we're looking at a love interest, you're looking at a wife. I would love a wife that comes forth and say, hey, listen, this is who I am. This is my past. These are things that I'm not proud of. These are things that I dream of. These are my insecurities. Hey, that dude that's sitting right next to you or whatever, the guy, your coworker, your homeboy, I'm letting you know, like in the dating phase, he and I, we've had sex before. I want transparent conversations. Let me be the smartest one in the room. Don't let me be the dumb one where stuff is going on behind the scenes and I'm clueless. And so living lit is living intentionally and transparently. Let your motives be known up front in the dating process. If you are a person looking to be married, say I'm looking to be married. If you're somebody saying, hey, I'm looking to have kids, say that up front. I'm looking to have kids, so you don't waste time with people who don't want to have kids. So be intentional about those interactions. If you're just looking for somebody to kick it with, have fun with, do whatever with, but you're not looking for anything serious, say that. Let your intentions be known up front. So I believe that the lit life is living intentionally and transparently.
And I can definitely connect with that, because I think for me, like personally, in the dating world, and I think that's where I find myself, I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. So if you're looking for just fun, like, let me know up front, because I'm not the fun type. Like, I've done it, live it, did it for 15 years. Over that, like, I know what it's like. So it's like I'm looking for something more meaningful, more, being transparent. I find that when you do mention it, some of them, they shy away. Yes, like it's letting you know, like, okay, this person is not for you. But for someone like us, like as women out there who are in the dating world, that are looking for intentional relationship, that want something different and more meaningful. So how do we start to create that life and, to be in alignment with them, especially if they're not in alignment with us?
Well, one thing I always say is don't force something that's not supposed to, if they're not the one, they're not the one. Don't waste your time. I believe that God is a God of decency and in order. And so what he said, that he'll give you the desires of your heart. So if you're desiring people that line up with your ideas and your morals, then you can find that. And when you meet somebody, just be upfront. I believe in being upfront, whatever it is. Hey, listen, this is what I'm looking for. They say, oh, no, I'm not about that. Well, thank you so much. It was good to know you. I wish you the best. Don't waste no time. And as you transparently stated, you spent 15 years with somebody that I can clearly see that his intentions weren't the same as yours. That's just 100%. A man does not spend 15 years with a woman that's not his wife and never ever marry her. You know what I'm saying? It's just wasted time. You're investing a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of memories for nothing. And so don't waste time. When you meet people now, check their history. People's history tells a lot about them, about them. When you start talking to people and say, hey, have you been married before? No. If you're 50 years old and you've never been married before, there's something to be said about that. Like, you haven't found nobody, like there's nobody that you want to marry. Or they say, hey, I just don't want to be married. They have commitment issues. Listen to people. One thing that I find with women often is that y'all hear and then y'all transform what they say, and then something totally different than what they said. The guy said, hey, listen, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. Y'all go, well, I know I'm the one that'll probably change his mind, because if he starts hanging around with me, you know what I'm saying? If he starts experiencing me, he's going to want a relationship with me. No, he said, I'm not ready for a relationship with you. And then you may have sex with him. You screw his brains out thinking that you're cooking for him. You're washing his clothes. You're doing all these wifely duties, expecting to become a wife. And all you were was just a little chick that he was kicking with that was doing wifely duties. And so I always say that make sure that, oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. Always be intentional about what you're doing. Don't give outside of the title. So for instance, I can't act like a husband if I'm just your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's certain roles and responsibilities. As you know, you're married. So as a married woman, I guarantee you're not giving a coworker, a homeboy, or even your cousin or brother the same responsibilities and effort that you give your husband. But oftentimes in relationships, the lines are blurred. I believe in dating. There are certain things that you should put up in your mind, boundaries, and say, these are the boundaries I operate within in a dating relationship. Hey, all right, you want to be engaged to me? I'm your fiance. These are the boundaries that I operate in as a fiance. Oh, you want a wife? As a wife, these are the boundaries I operate in. And you elevate. And with it's like almost if you were working at a company and you're the janitor at the company, you can't be running around acting like you're the CEO. You don't even have certain access. You don't even have access to certain buildings, certain stuff or whatever. It's like, no, stay in the role that you're in.
Yeah.
And I say, show your great qualities. The guy that can see the wife in you, but you don't start giving him those you don't give him that access like that.
And I feel like in order for you to know or have boundaries as a woman, you have to know what you want and be firm in that. And I know prior to getting married, I was with somebody for 4 years. And I thought this person, was, my soulmate, who felt like home to me, who I felt safe with, who I can spend the rest of my life with. However, he said that he didn't want to get married. And I was like, wow, who doesn't want to get married? But I want to get married. However, in my mind, I thought, well, he will change. He'll come around. Yes. And so I stayed in something for 4 years, not realizing that I was going against my own value and what I really wanted. And so for me, it was difficult to break it off. Actually, no, it wasn't, because he cheated. So I was like, well, I know for sure now this is not something I want, and we're not in alignment with each other. For some women, like I know some women who are in relationships with somebody who they truly love, but they don't want marriage, and they do, or they want kids and the other person doesn't. And so it's difficult for them to break away from that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important to learn that it's not about you. It is the other person. Could have those boundaries and be firm in it, and not be afraid to continue lose it and continue to date, and not be afraid to express what you want. And that's something that I had to learn. And so when I did start dating, and I was very firm in what I want. This is what I want. I want family and kids. I want to build a life. And if you weren't there, I was like, all right.
That's it.
Bye.
Self be true. I did my last episode of season 1 was to thine own self be true. You know what you want when you're talking to yourself in the mirror. If you have a Issa Rae moment where you hype yourself up in the moment, in the mirror, whatever, you know what it is that you want. To thine own self be true. Don't lie to yourself. Don't get along just to, what happens is in relationships, you start conforming to their desires.
Yes.
And you forget that you want something out of that relationship too. It's an even exchange. And you find yourself compromising in the areas that you don't need to compromise in.
Yes.
You can't compromise with the things that you have in your heart. If God himself said that I will grant you the desires of your heart, then why in the world would you get in a relationship that's not mutually beneficial? It's like you're coming against.
You're speaking to me.
Yeah, because you're coming against the very thing that God has in store for you. And I'm going to tell you, what we should do is we should rebuke those moments. We should rebuke those people.
Yes.
Jesus himself had to rebuke Peter, who tried to come against him. He said, you are of your father, Satan. He called Peter Satan, who was coming against his mission to die. And Peter was like, listen, I'm trying to protect you. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to look out for you. I'm trying to protect you. I will make sure that you don't ever die. And he was like, get behind me, Satan. He said that to his homeboy because he said, my purpose is to die. I know you don't understand it. I know you may not agree with it, but me dying is going to change the world. Don't get in the way of my purpose. So it's the same thing with us. When we get in relationships with people who are not in alignment with what we want, we got to rebuke those situations and move on and say, get behind me, Satan, and go on about your business.
And
Because you're
that's
going to
what
give so many precious years, trying to manifest something and praying to God to change them. And God said, no, just change them out, recast. I'm in the theater.
Recast. Yes.
Yeah, recast this person. Shoot.
So that makes me think to like, even in marriage, because people change and people evolve in marriage as well. And so when you begin to see like if your partner is not meeting your needs and you've expressed those needs and you pray on it and God just keeps showing you there is no change, that's difficult because you've taken vows and you don't want to disappoint God. And how does someone, a woman, a wife, or husband, recast when you've already taken these vows, but you've seen that you are no longer in alignment?
Well, what's interesting with me is that I have had a divorce. So I had a divorce 5 years ago. And in that process, and my ex-wife and I are good friends this very day. Matter of fact, we had a conversation last night about a mutual friend passing last night. And but it was exactly what you said. You had these two great people that came together. I got married when I was 28 years old. She's 4 years my senior, and we evolved. And it was certain things that I wanted. I wanted a kid. I wanted certain things in my marriage. A lot of stuff I still don't talk about, not to, to protect her and not
of course
for her. But it was things that I wanted that just wasn't met. And I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go ahead and honor, this marriage, and I'm going to just be miserable. And the more I kept saying I want to be miserable in my marriage, God was like, really? Because what happens is Jesus walked by a fig tree that wasn't bearing fruit, and he cursed it because the fig tree was meant to bear figs. And if you're not producing the very thing that you're supposed to produce, he just rebukes it and curses it. And so that's what I felt like in my life and in my marriage. It was things that I used to operate in on a high level. I used to tour shows across the country. I got married and then began to be a little bit more like her, where I played it safe. And I was a little bit, before I was like, I can do anything, and I go out and do it and accomplish great exploits. But in my marriage, I began to be a little stagnant and a little fearful, because you got that other person that you got to respect their decisions. And if they say, no, I don't do this, well, no, I don't do that. It's like, all right, I got to honor my wife and not do such and such. But then I'm dying on the inside. I'm not producing. I'm not walking in my purpose. I'm not fulfilling my calling. And I said, you know what, God, I'm going to need you to teach me grace. I want to divorce my wife with grace. And I said, I don't want to be destroyed in the process. I don't want to be broken in the process. And I said, I ain't never been married before, so I haven't been divorced before, so teach me. And so I just submitted myself to God as he walked me through that process. And I believe he did a great job, because she and I are still cool to this very day.
Yeah. So it goes back to not being fearful, and again, being transparent and leaning on your faith, no matter what stage you are in relation. It's dating, being engaged, and even being married to someone. If someone is evolving or they're not in alignment, it's okay to move forward and lean on your faith to move with grace. And I feel like a lot of people are so fearful of that and stay stuck in places where they know that it's just not going to move any forward, or they're going to be happy.
And I can say personally for me, that was me. I stayed, I conformed, even though on both ends, they were wrongdoing on both ends. It wasn't just one person doing it. But then when we tried to come together, and I was like, because I felt like I love this person, I had to stay. I had to make it work. I was miserable at times, but I'm like, I'm going to push through, because this is what I want. This is going to grow. And then, like you said, like, we think that thing's going to change. And that's where I think I went wrong. I stayed, and I think by allowing him to stay too, ruining something that we had, the love that we have for each other, to the point where I don't know if we can be in the same room together. We did not end in gracefully. As much as we try, but it was hard until that day when it came. I just said, I think that's when my faith renewed, and I said a prayer to God. I was like, God, give me the strength. If this is no longer for us, let us find the strength to just go. Mm-hmm. And it had to be the most difficult thing, because communication, like you mentioned, communication, like the struggles, like how do you save a struggling partnership? You know, is it worth staying? Is it worth not staying? You know, is it something that we need, because it's really big. And that was something that I struggle with a lot, and I'm trying to relearn how to do, so that moving forward, I don't have the same experiences.
So I think the commitment has to be different between a marriage and a dating relationship. Mm-hmm. We read in the Bible, what God joined together, let no man put asunder. So from a marriage standpoint, yeah, you got to work a little bit harder, do some things you got to put in a whole lot more work, because again, you did take a vow, and a vow is totally different from, hey, will you be my boyfriend or girlfriend, or circle yes or no. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole lot different. You standing in front of people, whether you had a big wedding or not, you stood before somebody and made that vow, versus if you and I decide to start dating and be in a relationship, that's just between me and you. And nobody present, no nothing. No contract signed, nothing. No changing of names, just, hey, you're my girlfriend. So you have a whole lot of levity to walk away from that situation, because what are you really fighting for? You know, you have some stuff that you're it's a struggle in any relationship, but when you are in a relationship that you begin to die, where you begin to change the countenance of your face, and you got to be very understanding of this. You know how when you're going through some relationships, or you're going through a relationship, and your friends be like, gosh, you just seem different. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It used to be more outgoing and happy. Now you just seem so. That relationship is breaking you down. And if you in a relationship with somebody that's just your boo thing, that's doing that to you, you got to jump ship. A marriage is different. A marriage, you're gonna have to work through some stuff, go through counseling. I recommend going through therapy. You go do all the work necessary in order to heal that relationship. Yes. But then even at that point, if you're in an abusive relationship, emotionally, mentally, physically, you still got to leave. The end result is, if something is destroying you, then why stick around?
That's what I was struggling with. It was like I was thinking, even though it was destroying me, it's because I thought, for me personally, it was like, I love this person. What I felt inside, it wasn't connecting with my mind. And I was operating on my emotion and my heart, even though my mind was telling me this is not okay, this is not healthy. But it was more like, I love this person. We grew up together. We're around each other. Our family love each other. And the relationship you have with their family, it was like, it's that to break away was hard for me, because I lost my mother years ago. And so they became my family. Mm-hmm. So how do you walk away from that after a few years? And I was really struggling with that. And I had to learn how to start working on myself. So basically learning how to love myself again. And I decided to go to therapy. We tried to do therapy, but it wasn't working. So I stayed. I was like, I need to figure this out, because this is not who I am. I was losing my friends. I was distanced from my family. And I did not like that, because I'm like, this is who I am. They make me who I am. I need to be around them. And not being around them was the hardest thing ever. And then it's like, the closer you look into the relationship and you see yourself like, oh my God, this is going to end. It's a grievance. It's like you're losing something huge.
Yes, definitely.
You are. And the thing about it, you talk a lot about loving him so much. And then I love when you said, I had to start loving me. What happens is that you start loving somebody else more than you love yourself. Because I guarantee you, if you loved yourself more, you wouldn't have been around there for 15 years. It just wouldn't have happened, because you have to deny a lot in you in order to stick around for 15 years. And it's not being selfish. Let me tell you this. Selfishness is often misunderstood, because selfishness, we look at it as, oh, you're selfish, and now it's to the demise of somebody else's wishes. But in a dating relationship, you have a right to be selfish. You have a right to say, this is what I want, and I have to have it. Because other than that, when you start breaking down what love languages are and understand how you connect and relate to people, what do I look like if my love language is words of affirmation, and I get with a woman I start dating a woman that talk to me bad, talk crazy to me, and I go, well, I'm just going to love them. I'm just going to love you through it. And you're like, no, this is who they are. This is their propensity. They have a propensity to talk crazy to you. That's who they are. They talk crazy to everybody. You go to a restaurant, they're talking crazy to them, and you're trying to change them. You're trying to change them to somehow treat you differently than they treat everybody else. Well, that's a relationship doomed for a disaster, because they have their natural propensity is to give me the opposite of what I desire. And that's why to thine own self be true is such a powerful mantra that I live by, is because if I need this, if this is what I find emotionally and mentally stable for me in my life and what I need, because what's going to happen is you're going to get with somebody, they're not fulfilling that number one need of love that you have, you're going to go get it from somebody else. Yeah. And so you're setting yourself up for failure. So just say, you know what, before I get to 15 years, we're going to end this right now. Before I get to 3 years, before I get to 5 years, if you keep constantly telling somebody what you need and they just don't give it to you, you got to love you enough to be like, all right, I got to go. This ain't working. Ooh, I love you. Yes. Your mama's great. I'm going to miss her sweet potato pie. But I got to.
Yes. And that's,
got to go.
That's so real, because I've known people who are in marriages and are not happy, but they keep asking for what they want, and there's no change, but the family is great. You know, they take care, they're so sweet to me. I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to remarry again and have the same experience again. And it's that fear. And so you have to be able to be strong enough and love yourself enough to know that it's going to be okay. And through fear, you're going to conquer it, and that's fine. So that's...
That's what you have to do. And talking about loving yourself and to get back out there, especially for me, getting back out there. So how can we start to love, especially for women like me and other women out there? It's like, how do we start to love a Black man? Because I think it starts with us, but like, how do we, what are some things we need to do? What characteristics are you guys looking for and to love a Black man, and for a Black man to love a woman too?
What I think is about this thing we throw about love. I did an episode, What's Greater Than Love? I found trust. A lot of times people just don't trust people. You know, what stops men from getting married is not because they don't love you. They just don't trust you with their whole life. You know what stops people from giving their life to Christ? Because they don't trust. They like, what, I got to give up my control. I got to stop these certain things that I like to do. Oh, I don't trust that that's going to be for the benefit of me. And so I found that trust is so important. And so oftentimes when a man steps out of a marriage or cheats on you or in a relationship, you go, you don't love me. He like, I do love you. You know what I'm saying? You like, but if you love me, you wouldn't have done this. It's not true. You know what I'm saying? He can love you and then love himself to cater to his own needs. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever his desire is, or his weakness, or his wickedness, or whatever you want to call it, is that it's not based on love. What stops a lot of men from getting married, like I said, is trust. And so when a man can find himself, and you can't do anything about this. There is nothing a woman can make a man do. He has to be himself. He has to do the work within himself, because if I tell you the wrong advice, you'll go, well, I'm gonna try this with a guy, and then now he's just using you, and you like, well, that didn't work. Yeah, because you found a narcissistic dude that just totally took advantage of you. So the reality is that you have to allow him to do the work. Have those conversations. What kind of work have you done for your emotional well-being and healing?
Yes.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Oh,
So your dad walked away from your mom when you were 5 years old. That had no effect on you. Oh, no. You know, I mean, I had uncles or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, everything was cool. Okay, you're not in your child's life. And I noticed I overheard you having a conversation with the mother of your child, and you was like, that kid can find me when he gets 18 years old because I don't want to deal with you. And you said that to the mom. You don't think anything wrong with you, you know, and you got to hear that stuff. You got to hear people process their life and then make a deduction to say, is this something that you want to fool around with or not? But when you start hearing people and they say, nah, you know, I dealt with a lot of stuff. I start looking at my past relationships and how they ended, and I've cheated on every girl I've ever been with. So I started saying, you know what, there's something wrong with me. That's somebody that's going through the process of healing. And that's the type of person you want to deal with, is somebody that can recognize it was something wrong with me. It was something broken in me. And I decided to go do the work to get healing from said situation. And so from a woman's standpoint, when you find a guy like that, then what you're able to offer that we need so much is support. And you support through that process. You don't nag through that process. You don't condemn. You support. And you're like, hey, listen, baby, I got you. I got you. And then when you start providing that safe space for him to talk, and he said, man, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I ain't never done nothing like this before, but this is hard. So today at work, we got this new employee that started working with us or whatever. And, she was flirting with me, and, I was flirting back with her or whatever. And she wanted to go to lunch or whatever. And, I didn't go, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm very attracted to her. But I love you a lot, and I respect you enough, and I just want to share that with you. Before anything happens, I just want to do that. If you handle that conversation right and be like, you know what, thank you for being honest with me, and we all have weak moments and all that type of stuff, and I just want to commend you on talking about that. So what are you going to do to safeguard that? Where, do you think you'll ever go out with her at lunch? No, I don't think that's cool. And you let him start making those decisions. You like, listen, I love you for that. See, that's what I'm saying. I love the fact that you're trying to protect our relationship, and you're trying to cover me, and I appreciate that. He gonna go, I can talk to my woman about everything. I can tell her when I'm weak. I can tell her still like, oh, no, who is she? I'm finna go up there. Like, did you tell you in a relationship? She saw me drop you off at work. Okay, I'm finna go see her. He'd be like, oh my God, now it's embarrassing. I was open with you, and I was trying to share something. Listen, I'm a man. I can take care of it. I can take care of it. And you support him in his decision and say, listen, I got you. Then he's going to be open with you. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, he's never going to step out on you, because he knows that he will break something in you that he built with you, that he built that trust, he built that support, and you provided that safe space for him in order to uncover himself and say, hey, listen, this is my vulnerability and this is my weakness. So I believe that on both ends, we can do that for each other. Same thing with a man and a woman. If a woman say, ooh, so-and-so is fine, or he blah, 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 a dude not insecure and all, they like, all right, y'all laugh it off, tripping. Because what we keep thinking is that we get married and get blind. You know what I'm saying? We think we get married and we don't see nothing anymore. That's not true. It just don't make sense. If that was the case, then people wouldn't be cheating all the time. 50% of marriages wouldn't be ending in divorce. But when you create a safe space for your spouse, significant other, boyfriend, and you go, listen, I know you ain't blind. Shoot, I know you know what look good because you found me. You know what I'm saying? And you laugh about it, that type of stuff, and you just talk. And then you start creating those cool conversations, relationship where you truly become his best friend. I said, I don't want to marry someone that isn't my best friend. I don't want to be able to have a conversation with my homeboys that I can't have with my wife. I want those lines blurred. I want those. No, that's my best friend. My woman is my best friend. I can talk to her about any and everything. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So I hope I answer your question.
Definitely, so it goes back to really just when you're meeting someone, paying attention and listening, actively listening to their words, even the red flags.
Yes.
And not just looking over those red flags, because those will tell you which way you want to go. And if that person is being honest with you, and so you're able to assess where they are, like you said, like they're in the healing process. And then from there, you can continue to be able to develop a relationship with that person and know that they're really good at communicating. So I know that communication is so important in developing a healthy relationship, because you want to be able to know what that person is feeling and thinking, and also create a safe space to support them, but also feel heard as that partner in the relationship as well. I know, like, my girlfriends are like, what are the red flags and what are the green flags? Just listen. That's all I heard. Just listen.
Like, listen, if you listen, I'm telling you, people will tell you so much. The Bible says you never know a fool until he speaks. And so if you just listen to people. They'll contradict themselves. You'll be like, okay, you said yesterday that, and then, and just listen. You ain't got to point out everything. You ain't got to say, oh, but you said, just listen. And then after a while, you make your deduction and be like, you know what? I don't think we're good for each other. Dang, I thought everything was cool. Well, no, remember you said such, and then that didn't line up with that or whatever. He like, all right, yeah, you got me. You got me.
Even when someone says, you know, when I'm ready, I'll be ready. What does to me that means no. To me that means no.
or like I know we're together right now, but I need some space to heal. But then other things are happening. It's like we can't be together and you need space to heal. It's like, okay, we like you said, providing the safe space, like we have the space to heal. Like what do you need? What are you going to heal from? And then but want to keep this person still here. Like we don't want to, there's not communication, whatever we're doing. I just need a break from you for a little while. Let me go find myself over here and then I'll come back.
You know what that means?
Like, I'm just waiting.
Do you know why he does that? You know why God says, give me some space, let me do whatever I need to do?
Because they got other people on the side.
That's something I'm saying.
They got other options.
He want to put you on lockdown for a little bit because he wants you to stay with the hope of y'all getting back together so you don't get caught up with nobody else. And so he puts you on the bench in reserves, and then he go out and go sow his royal oats by kicking it with said woman that he already got over here that he's spending time with, and you can't. He can do it with a clear conscience because y'all ain't together right now. Mm-hmm. So he can go and explore whatever it is. If it works out with old girl, then you ain't gonna never hear back from him again. If it don't, he come back and be like, yeah, you know, I was thinking. I was thinking, you know what I'm saying? I really do miss you, you know what I'm saying? I love what we had.
2 months later.
What did we have?
And then he'll go back again when he finds somebody else. Don't waste your time with that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said you have a say-so in the matter. Whatever it is that you desire, you can have it. Ask for it and don't waste a lot of time. Because the thing about a woman is that y'all's biological clock is always ticking. So if you go spend 10 years with somebody else and 15 years, now you 45 years old. You're like, God, no, where the last 25 years go? Because you were wasting it with these same old, you wasted it with two dudes over that whole period of time. And if your desire is to have kids, now you're at the level of a high-risk pregnancy because you 45 years old wanting a kid. So it's like you have to be very intentional. When I say intentional about even your own body, the things that you desire, and say, listen, this is what I want. And I guarantee you will manifest the desires of your heart. But you start surrounding yourself around people like that and be like, oh, hey, no, you cool. You know, we can be cool. We friends, and it's good. And don't feel like you're losing anything. And that's the biggest thing. Sometimes people feel like they're losing. You know, I don't want to, you know, I want to lose a headache. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to be a headache in my life, I want to lose you as fast as possible. And I want you to identify and show yourself early. So I can say, oh, good. Whew, that was only 2 weeks. You know, I didn't waste 2 years with you and move on. Move on.
It makes me think practicing forgiveness. How is practicing forgiveness different in a relationship versus a marriage?
I think forgiveness is the same whether it's marriage, friend, work relationship, because God even says forgive. And when he says forgive, he never segmented it by where this is what you should do as a marriage. This is what you should do as a friend. If somebody stole something from you, forgive the criminal. This is how you forgive a criminal. Forgiveness is forgiveness, where you hold no record of their wrong. And you say, hey, listen, I forgive you. But what people confuse forgiveness with is a second chance. Yes. Everybody who forgive doesn't have to have a second chance. You can forgive people and go, hey, listen, I forgive you and I'm done. In a marriage, forgiveness works on a whole nother level, depending on what it is, because there are biblical grounds for divorce. You can forgive your spouse for infidelity, but doesn't mean you have to stay. Again, you have a choice. God never takes away our right to choose. When he created us as humans, he gave us the freedom of choice. And so you have a choice to say, okay, here I am. My husband did X, Y, Z. Do I want to forgive him for this? I mean, I'm going to forgive him from this, but do I want to give him a second chance? Because you still got, you know, as Christians, you have to forgive because you'll be holding on. I think they said holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. You know, it just doesn't even make sense because you're growing with this bitterness in your heart. And so forgive everybody who offends you, but you don't have to give them a second chance. You know, you decide whether you can take that, because the Bible says I'll never put more on you than you can bear. then you decide, you know what, I think it's healthy for me to leave. Because you've been praying some things too. A lot of times we forget the prayers that we prayed where we say, God, give me a sign to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then God gives you a sign to leave, you be like,
you be like, no.
No, are you sure? It's like,
are you sure? You like, you just said, if this ever happens to you, that you would leave. That happened to you. And you prayed for me to give you a sign to leave. There it is. Yeah, but he just seems so sad. And I really love his mom's sweet potato pie. I really don't want to. I want to stay around Thanksgiving coming up. And boy, her dressing is good. Boy, I want that good. Leave. It's okay. That's just a little, like, you gotta keep it real. Because I'm telling you, when you start dying to yourself, because the other thing about it, what we really don't talk about is what happens, how we begin to act in relationships when we're carrying bitterness. Mm-hmm. You're not pleasant to be around. You're not pleasant to love. You're a person, you just got an attitude because you holding on to all this stuff. And you're like, dang, I thought we got over that. You know, and you're like, because you really didn't get over it. You said, I forgive you, but you're holding on to this bitterness. So he's not even getting the best version of you. So now your relationship really can't work because you're not authentically healed from that situation, not even trying to seek healing from that situation. And now you're just a bitter, grumpy person.
And then,
whether male or female, you're just grumpy.
And then resentment builds.
Oh, that resentment ain't no joke, is it?
It's no joke. When it gets a hold on you, it gets a hold on you. Like it took, like for me, the past year, it took a lot. It took a lot. And I think after I booked my trip, because, you know, the trip was supposed to be our trip, and I ended up going alone. And
what you do with the other ticket? What you do with the other ticket?
Hey, that's his ticket. Whatever he decides to do with it, maybe he took someone else on that trip, you know, with him that we plan out together. I don't know, but I know that we were planning a trip together.
Would that crush you on a trip with another woman?
Listen, whatever happens, it's gonna stay there. All I know is for me, it's interesting because I went when things was happening and I was praying to God. I took a trip to Haiti to see my mom, and you know, my mom, like I said, mentioned, she passed away years ago, and I feel like at that moment I was like, I needed her, and I just went and I spoke to her and I said, listen, I'm in Haiti right now, and all the signs were coming, and I said, you know what, when I go back, whatever I can't see, let me see. Whatever I can hear, let me hear. Whatever it is. Yes. And, you know, when I came back and I got picked up from the airport, I felt it. You know, you get the kisses, but you're like, nah, it's different. The touch is different. You know, and I woke up the next morning and we were looking at each other's eyes, and it was just kind of like, yeah, we're in different paths. Like you're heading somewhere, but it was kind of like, can we save this? Can we not? But I think for me, I was gone. Even though my heart I love, but it was gone. But then I took that trip. I went to Bali, India, and Dubai. It transformed me. It transformed how I view myself. I was like, how did I allow myself to stay this long and not love myself the way I deserve to be loved? Because I'm expecting this man to love me, but how can he love me if I'm not loving myself intentionally?
Let me ask you this. So in the 15 years, did y'all discuss marriage?
Not as often we should have. It was a discussion in the beginning. It was like, I'm not so sure if I want marriage, but the hope was like maybe one day. Yes, maybe one day.
He said, I'm not so sure that I want marriage.
Yes.
And what did you think in your mind at that moment?
In my mind, it was kind of like when it was like maybe one day, the maybe one day was hope for me. And it was like, okay, so we're going to work on it. We're having fun. We're traveling together. We're doing all these things together. Our family love each other. And I just saw how our family connected. And that's what was big for me and the support that we have. And so I stayed. I try to work on it. I did everything I can. I conform. I changed my ways of doing things. I distanced myself from certain things. There was a lot of things happening.
So let's put this in context. So at that time, you were about, 22 years old?
I was in my 20s. Yeah, in my 20s.
So in early 20s. 30. Yeah, so in early 20s when y'all first got in a relationship no, you said y'all was together for 15 years, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We started it started in college. Mm-hmm.
So you're like 20 years old when you got with him, and or 19-ish. And so when you talk about marriage with him, of course, a 19-year-old, he may think that you're talking about immediately versus in the future. So later on, 25 hits, 28 years old hit. What did he say then? Or did y'all talk about marriage then?
I brought it up again. It was kind of like, not right now. There's things for us we need to fix. We need to do, therapy, or we need to like build trust again. We need, so I'm like, okay, so this is what we need to do. We'll do it. And so I said again, I was like, I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to put all in to fix it. But on the other end, there were other things happening. There's someone else that came in the picture.
So right at the very end of y'all's demise, did y'all ever talk about marriage again?
No, what I ended up doing was I proposed.
You proposed?
I took that chance and I said, you know what? That's my last straw right there. It's like, I'm going to take my chance, and that's going to be what's going to determine if we go somewhere or not. And so I had written a vow that I had written, because I write poetry, I'm very poetic. So I wrote a vow. I was like, for the day we get married, I had already said it ready, because I was like ready to settle, ready to have family, ready to do all that. And so I remember sitting at that table, we looked at each other's eyes, and I said, here, you know what, read this. I need you to read this, because it was kind of like, what are your intentions? And in my head, I was like, you're still asking me what are my intentions, but I'm here doing all this. It's like, if you have to ask me this question, why are we still here? So I said, here's the vow that I wrote, and I proposed. And when I proposed, it was like, it was not a yes or a no. It was like, not right now, maybe one day.
So I want y'all to hear something. I've always wanted to talk to a woman that has proposed to me. This is so crazy how God is. This week, I was telling a friend, I said, I want to talk to somebody on my podcast that has proposed to a man.
Wow, I didn't even know this.
Yeah, I have a way of having people make some confessions. But I got to. So let me tell you something.
It was tough. Let me tell you something. I don't know what came over me.
Hold on. Do you see what I'm talking about? How you begin to conform. You start operating totally outside of what God created you to be.
Yes.
Never. And women are amazing. Women are bosses. Women can be presidents. Women can be pastors of churches. Women can do all these things. But I refuse to accept that a woman should be proposing to a man. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to accept that. What happens is that, like you said, it was my last straw. It was like, I said, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And it's like, you reduced yourself from a queen, like you're sitting on the throne and you reduced yourself. The reason why I believe that in the proposal process and the physical stature of a man, when he proposes to a woman, he gets down on one knee. When you get down on a knee, it's an act of submission. You know, when you're standing before a king, what they will always do is people come before a king, they'll get down on their knee and bow down before him. And so this part of offering this gift to this woman is saying, I am submitting myself to you. We know that we're in a marriage, the two should be submitting themselves to each other. But in order for a relationship, for a marriage to work, to at least have a start, a healthy start, is for a man to understand that he must submit himself to a woman and be intentional about his desire. And that desire is, will you marry me? And he's putting himself, that's the highest level of vulnerability. I've seen videos on YouTube where a guy has proposed to a woman. She'd be like, no, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And my heart just breaks in those moments. I know how much work it takes for a man to go through his mind, to sort it out, to go buy a ring, to stand before this woman in front of her friends or family or whatever and say, will you marry me? And it breaks my heart to know that your relationship, that what you desired so much from a man that wasn't willing to extend the same level of love to you and vulnerability to you and security to you and protection over you, that you said, I'll take it. I'll take it, God. I'll do it. I'll do everything for you. And I'll make it easy for you. And all you have to say is yes. I got to have a conversation with you in the future about this. You have to come on my podcast. we gonna talk about this because
Yes.
Oh my God. No.
it breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart, but you know what? After I did that, it was kind of like, I realized that at that time, like, why am I extending so much of me in that way when a man is looking to say, okay, what are your intentions? I'm willing to go that extra mile. I'm willing to change who I am. I'm willing to change the language, the way I move. I'm willing to sit down where you put me. I said, oh, hell no. I'm not doing that again. I deserve love. I am beautiful and I am smart. I am talented and I have so much going on for me. You are not about to put me on the side. I don't care what shit you got going on over there. Excuse me, guys. But that's what happened. When I found out about this woman, it was a woman. I knew about it. And their friends knew about it. So to me, it was like, your friends don't even respect me and our relationship. You know, I don't want to be a secret. We are not going to sit here and travel, get on a plane and go live that life we do overseas. And then we come here. It's like, no, I'm not living that double life. And it's like, I love you. And I know that there are things that you need to work out and you need to heal from. I'm doing my work. But to move forward, we can't do that. And I just couldn't do it no more. I just couldn't take it. And I saw how it was breaking my family, how it was breaking like his family. And I was like, I felt like it was a burden. It was becoming a burden. I was like, I don't want to be a burden to somebody. It's like the best way to do was to go our separate ways. And I'm like, I hope that you and this person find happiness. I don't mean no harm, but I hope you find happiness. But you know, to have the conversation, when I find out, I was like, what are you going to do? What are your intentions? Are you going to pursue this person while we're together, or are we going to end? Because you can't be with me and still pursue this person. But then again, it's like, I find myself being angry at her. Then I have to say, why am I angry with her? It's not her.
Yeah, it's him.
It's not her. It's you. You are allowing this in our space, because it was the way it happened. It was more like, it made me feel like I created this space for everything that we experienced. It was my fault this person came in. It's my fault the door opened. It's my fault. You need to fix it. Communication is broken. You need to fix it. Trust is broken. You need to fix it. It's you. And then I took it all. I took that bag and I was carrying it by myself. And it became so heavy. And I'm like, I can't do it on my own anymore. And if we can't do it together, I can't be laying next to you. And you're talking to this woman next to me. And I'm saying here, like, God, like, you know, and then I should have left.
You might as well be in a polyamorous relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, and for me to be vulnerable and talk about it, I needed that, because it's like, I needed to look, it made me look within myself and say, Badia, for you to like, that means you don't love yourself if you're doing that. If you love yourself, why are you allowing this to happen to you? Stop looking for him to love you, to feel love. You need to start loving yourself. And that's when my work started. I think that's when my healing, my breakthrough started, was to go and find that for me, for me to go to therapy, and it transformed me, connected with my family again, connected with my friends again. And I am doing an amazing thing. I am meeting individuals that helped me break out of that. And I needed that. And it was kind of like, which came with like, what do you want? My characteristic. What are the characters are they looking for? Why do I need to work on myself so that this is what I'm presenting, so that when we come together, we're in alignment.
Good.
Stay like that. Good. But it's so, I feel like it's so true that with women, we love very hard, and we have a big heart, and we sacrifice a lot. And that's what we sacrifice, is our own happiness, just to be able to hold on to an illusion of what we think is meant for us. Ooh, I love this person so much. And you keep sacrificing your own happiness. You keep conforming yourself. And you're not understanding why you're so miserable, but this person is still laying up next to you, telling you, they're speaking loudly in your ear, but you're not listening. And it's because we continue to sacrifice and box ourselves in until we're like, I can't do this anymore. And then we just build up all this resentment and anger, and then we feel hurt, and then we begin to blame ourselves, like, oh, what could I have done differently? When all it takes is you just have to actively listen and accept what you're listening without fear. And I'm learning that when you feel like you're beginning to sacrifice your own needs and your own happiness, that is a sign that you have to lean on your faith to give you the strength if you cannot do it on your own to walk away. And I find myself in that space like, okay, God, give me the grace. Give me the grace and the strength, guide my steps, and give me divine wisdom on how to move in certain situations that I cannot do on my own. And I think that goes for both for in relationships and in marriage as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
So Laterra, like in talking about all this, and especially with me, I guess you can use me as an example, but you know, what are, like, for me coming out of my relationship and then going into a relationship, what are some things, like, what characteristics guys are looking for? Like, how do I begin to prepare myself to find that future husband as you are also working on finding that, you know, your future wife? Like, what are some of the characteristics that guys or men are looking for? What is it, you know, what is it that we need to do to prepare?
The first thing I would say when you say in the preparation phase, what we all should be doing, male and female, is getting healed. Getting healed from, we've been, whatever age you are, that's how many years you've gone through things that may have been very traumatic in your life. I'm 42 years old, so I didn't get here having a perfect life. You know, I made some decisions, I made some mistakes, I've had some accomplishments, I've had some hurts, some habits, some hangups, all this stuff. So it's instead of taking all of that, they're going to already inherit you, and what comes with you is your history, but they shouldn't have to deal with that history. Meaning that if you got some stuff you need to tie up, some stuff you need to heal, you got some relationships that's hanging in the balance that need closure, take care of all that. You know, don't bring all that into this new relationship, because now you're putting this whole baggage. It's like a bag lady. You put all this stuff into a relationship, and now you have to deal with all that. No, go get healed, go get therapy, go get worked, and totally fall in love with yourself and create those standards. One of the things that you said about what makes a guy attractive to a woman, what we really want is someone, Tyler Perry said this. He said, I want a woman that can get in the pool and not make waves. And I was like, what does that mean? Basically saying, hey, just don't come and just upset my whole world. You know what I'm saying? You can get with some people, and I've gotten with some people in my past that you'd be like, oh my God, this is the worst decision I ever made. Like, why am I arguing all day, every day? Everything is questioned. Everything is suspect. My God, this is so taxing and draining and toxic. Well, who wants that? You want somebody that can fall into your life, that's supportive, and be like, hey, what you got going on? Hey, do you need help with that? I got you. Hey, what you need this? Hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I noticed that you were standing in the office working all night. Would you like me to come by, drop you off something to eat? You know, you're like, she's an asset into my life. I like her. She brings joy in my life. We laugh, we trip out. We're not taking life so seriously. We're laughing at stuff. She's cracking jokes. We all want, male and females, want people in our life that brings joy and happiness and make us laugh. We all want it. I don't know one person that says, I don't want nobody that's fun to be around. I don't want nobody to laugh. Life is too serious. Don't be laughing and all this stuff. No, if that person needs to get healed from some stuff, you know, because the Bible says laughter doeth the heart good as medicine. And so it sends endorphins to our brain and to our body, and it gives us that feel good moment. And so be that person that when you come into someone's life, you're an asset and not a liability.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that. I think that's really important. So with saying that, when you do the work and you heal and you love yourself and you're ready and you find someone, how long should, like, the process take? Like, do men know right away that this is a person they want to be with, and we start preparing for that? Like, how do we know, like, okay, are they ready for marriage or they're not ready for marriage?
As simple as a question. So as simple as a question at the very beginning will let you know if they're desiring marriage. And if they're in the process for manifesting marriage or a wife into their life. What I try to tell people when people interview me and I talk about my podcast is literally my journey. But in the opening, I say, journey with me as I discover, uncover, and recover love. Those are three phases for me. So the discovery phase for me is where I'm at right now, where I'm saying, Laterras, what do you really want from love? What is love? What is it that you want? What are some preferences that you have? What is your purpose, and how do you want that purpose greater fulfilled with your wife? What is that? So I'm still in that process of understanding and unraveling that and saying, okay, this is the mistakes I made in my past marriage. Have I been healed from that? Let's work on that. Let's understand. Let's safeguard myself. Let's set up boundaries. Where are you at emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? That's the discovery phase. The uncovery phase is when I take all that knowledge that I've acquired, talking to different people and go, oh, that's what I want. I couldn't put words to it, but when I interviewed this person, that's the type of love that I want. Now I go into the uncovery phase, which I take all that in, and then I start turning over rocks. And that's me going on dates with people with intentionality, saying, listen, I am looking for my wife. I'm letting you know that. It ain't gonna take no long time. Long time meaning the process of recovering her is not the long time. The uncovering, once I get to know you and all that type of stuff, is gonna go from, hey, this is my friend, we kicking it with, we spending time together. I know this is my doggone wife that I wanna be with, and we finna go straight into engagement. It's not no, that's my girlfriend, you know, yeah, we kicking it. Yeah, that's my girlfriend. I done met her family and all this stuff. You done met everybody. It's just my girlfriend. Hey. And they asking, so what's up? Y'all gonna get married? You know, I don't know. You know, it could happen. It may happen. You know, I don't know. But you done got grafted into their families like that, going to family reunions, hanging out with everybody.
Having kids.
All that. You said what?
Having kids with them.
Having kids together and all that. And y'all just, he still, no. So me being a man of intentionality, this is the one I want to marry. Will you marry me? We skipping that boyfriend, girlfriend phase, because in the dating phase and in the courtship phase, you know, the courtship phase is where you start pursuing that person, understanding who, because boyfriend, girlfriend ain't really no title. Like I couldn't, when I filled out my taxes, it don't say boyfriend, girlfriend. Let me check that right there.
No, it doesn't.
Married, divorced, you know what I'm saying? It has separated, you know, girlfriend and boyfriend ain't a title. So especially, well, I'll take that back. It's a title for my kids, and they age range. I'm a grown man. I don't need to have no girlfriend. Like I either you gonna be my wife, or you my friend. That's it. You a friend? We just somebody that's platonic, be kicking it with, hanging out with, or whatever. Or you my doggone wife. That's it. You know, I'm 42 years old. So when in that process that they say a God knows. He knows whatever his desires are, and there is no time limit. Like whatever, because it's individual. Some guy be like, you'll find a guy that marry you in freaking 30 days. He's like, no, that's it. I want her. But he's already done the work and done left some bodies along the way, breaking hearts along the way. And he says, you're exactly what I want. So he cuffs you and puts you on lockdown. That process can be 30 days. The process can be an elopement where they take you out the weekend, or it can be a year, or it can be 2 years. But the intentionality behind it, you should know immediately. It shouldn't be where you're guessing. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, I think you cool. I mean, I think you cool. You know, well, if you cool, you're just going to be my homeboy. Like, we're going to be cool. We can go out to eat. We're going to do cool things together. But I'm not going to allow you to invade my life. Yes. It should be, I said I was going to do an episode called about all access passes. And in that episode, I'm going to talk about how if I went to a concert right now, Beyonce had a concert, and we all at the concert together, all three of us. And Bria, you have an all access pass because you actually work with Beyonce. So you can go anywhere. You can go sit in the lobby. You can walk into the stadium. You can go backstage. You can go in the green room. Like, you have an all access pass. Now me, I'm just a normal ticket holder. I just came, I get to sit in the audience, watch the concert, scream, and then I go to the house. And now my girl up there, she got backstage pass. She can go back and take a picture, stand behind Beyonce, take a picture, and then she go. We all have different levels of access, but we all went to the same concert. But what we do in relationships, we give all access passes to people that are just boyfriends. And they got access to your whole life. it blows my mind when people be having houses together and they just a boyfriend. I be like, did y'all really go get a whole mortgage as a boyfriend and girlfriend? Like y'all, a mortgage, think about it. A mortgage is a 30-year, 40-year commitment.
Mm-hmm.
The person you with can't even give you a commitment. Like, how did you sign a piece of property with a 30, 40-year commitment, but y'all don't even have a commitment? Like, y'all just boyfriend and girlfriend. It just don't make sense to me. It just don't make sense. And so I believe that your commitment level should model whatever that level of, or your access should model that commitment level. And when a guy is intentional about you and he says, listen, you're my wife, I want to marry you, then you'll see him move differently. It'll feel differently. I guarantee you that the dude that wants to marry you is going to move differently than the guy that spent 15 years with you. You're going to know it right off the top. You're going to be like, oh, this is different. Okay, I like this. It's going to feel like a whirlwind. You're going to be like, oh, Jesus, this is a real dude.
It'll
He's going to tell him that story about how you proposed to your last dude. He's going to be like, boo, let me tell you something. You ain't got to ever do that with me. Like, you ain't going to ever, don't you ever do that for me. Because I will reject you just because you're operating outside your place. And you got to allow me to be a man. And I just don't understand. I want to talk to some people that have actually proposed to a dude and they've been married for, let's say, 3 years. And I want to talk to them and say, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
Are you taking out the trash now? Do you roll? Did you slide up in the car, change the oil? Are you the one to keep the gas in the car? To the woman, are you that person? Because when do you stop? When do you stop playing the male role? And I don't believe in gender roles per se, meaning that a woman needs to cook, a guy needs to do this. But there are certain fundamentals that as a man that we have to do, or it's just it just throws off the whole balance of the household. You know, it's like a woman running around being the fixer and doing everything, and she filling up the tank for the guy like that. No, it's a certain covering that a man should exemplify.
Or she's filling up her own tank while he's sitting in the passenger seat.
Well, I can't wait for that episode, but I'm happy you bring that up because I think it's been like a year or so since this whole thing happened, and I find myself like, I'm meeting men, like some of them, they want to date, I am dating. And I think what I have currently someone who is very like, I need this and I did. For me, I'm like, wait, I think that's too soon. Like, let's date. Let's get to know each other, right? So I feel like there's certain things that's being asked. I'm like, I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your wife yet. So no, I'm not doing that. So if you can't understand that, then it's not going to work. And then for me, I'm starting to think like, I'm like, should I operate that way? I'm like, no. Is it too forward? Am I like, so it's kind of like, let me cook for me. I'm like, I'm not your wife. I did that. I was doing that. And when I was doing that, there were some days where it was like, I don't want it. The door was being slammed. And I'm like, and then it's like, no, I'm not your wife. I'm not cooking for you. We can go out to eat. You can take me out to eat. We can do dinner. We can go out and hang out and go see a movie, go bowling, whatever it is. But all this other stuff, like, let's travel together and something. No, I need to know, like, this is it for me because I'm not going to share this life with you if it's not intentional.
Did he say he wants to be married?
No, he didn't even talk about marriage. It was kind of like, I expressed what I want. I said, I want children. I want to get married one day. And this is where I am right now in life. And I'm putting it up front.
What did he say?
No, marriage talk is not being talked about.
Oh,
so I
bye.
said, then I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing if we're not going to talk about it?
You see how you keep recreating the same thing over? It's what you want. It's your greatest need. Talk to them up front. There's no way I even go on a second date with you unless I know that we're on the same thing. Hey, listen, I just want to let you know that this is where my stance is on. First of all, don't even uncover yourself like that. Ask him, hey, are you interested in getting married? Well, what do you think about, marriage or whatever? I really do want to get married. Right now, I'm in the place right now that I can see myself married in the next 2 years. See, because a guy's gonna always give you a time limit when he's serious. I see myself getting married in the next 3 years. I see myself getting married in the next 3 years. Whatever he's gonna say that instead of saying, I can see. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. But you need to ask those questions. You need to ask those questions up front and find out exactly what it is. Ask him. And then when he tells you, then you move accordingly. But you should have been asked him that. You know, he over talking about cooking for you. I mean, wanting you to cook for him, and you haven't even asked him even if he wants to be married, and that's what you want, right?
So so as women, we just need to stand firm in what we want and not bend, and that's it.
Yes.
Stop sacrificing.
And you'll find them.
Yes.
And you'll find them. And I've said that to, you know, my single girlfriends, you know, just based off my own experience. Like, no, stick to what you want. If you're on a date, tell them this is what I want. And if they're telling you that they don't want that right now, it's the next person.
Okay.
My current husband, that first date, it was like vomit out his mouth, and I just sat there, didn't say nothing, and I said, okay. Okay, I want to be married too. And he's like, I want.
How long did it take him to propose to you?
We started in June, December 2015.
Can't remember.
No, December. June. We started dating officially in June, and then that December he proposed.
You see what I'm saying? 6 months. See, man, that's a whole nother conversation. We've been talking already over.
No.
We know. That's what I'm saying. Proof is right there. He knows, but he was ready. Mm-hmm. You know, he was already ready. A guy doesn't get with a woman and then decide to get ready for marriage. That's a whole thing. It should be a process. And we watch that in the Bible. We watch where God told Adam, here, go name the animals. I need you to do this. He gave him assignments to accomplish. And then he said, it is not good for man to live alone. And it's interesting that he said that after he had him do all this task. He should have said that at the very beginning, so Eve could have been helping him name the animals and all that stuff. But there's certain things that men have to accomplish to find himself worthy enough for marriage. There's a whole nother story in the Bible. We'll talk about that later. About Jacob and Rachel.
Thank you so much. Like I think like it covered everything, and we unpacked it a lot within this hour we're talking. So is there anything you want to leave us with, like any message for us, like in terms of like finding, you know, just preparing and finding for a future husband or future wife? Like any last message, anything you want to share with us?
One thing I will share is my process. And what I do is literally write letters to my future wifey. I believe there's such power in that, and such healing. Each episode of my podcast ends with me writing a letter. And in that process, I find myself saying some stuff that I really didn't even think about previously. I'm like, wow, okay, God, all right, I'm saying this. And we have the power to manifest the desires of our heart. Yes. And so in those letters, I'm intentionalizing exactly what I want, exactly what I desire. I'm covering her in prayer. And you can do the same thing. I encourage people to just write letters to their future spouses. And it doesn't have to be something that you post on Facebook or social media. Maybe something you just write it and put off to the side. But whatever that process is, get very intentional about it and manifest that which you deserve. And in it, say, I can't wait to have 2 kids with you, 3 kids with you, whatever that is. Like, say it. It's your private moment with you, God, and your future. And so manifest it and stay in that space. And the more that you're writing that, then when you start seeing people come into your life, you be like, oh no, I got 12 letters that I done written about this. This guy is not.
It's not you.
We're gone. Because it's not you. You can just see it. You know what I'm saying? It's literally, thank you, Holy Spirit. It becomes your spiritual resume that you're writing down every time. You're just writing your spiritual resume out there, saying what you want and you desire, and then you watch God and his angels dispatch that which you desire. And be, because it's going to be always counterfeits. So be very discerning that when certain people come in your life, be like, no. I don't like the way you talk to me. Oh, you be lying. Oh, you're a little liar. I can't deal with that. Oh, I don't like, oh, you don't take care of your kids. Oh, you don't pay your bills. What's wrong with you? Like you start finding these things about people that you say, I don't have to deal with that. Next. And be okay with pushing the next button.
Yes.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before we wrap up, we just have to do one more thing, which is a wild card question. Because Lord Jesus Christ, Laterra, you blessed us today. Thank you so much. Yeah. So basically, just pick number from 1 to 10.
8.
8. Ooh, what is your secret passion?
My secret passion. My secret passion. Huh, that's an interesting. My secret passion. My secret passion is literally worship. I spend a lot of time where I get like when it's crazy because I had this encounter on the phone yesterday. I was in the conversation with somebody and I just started breaking out into worship. And I'll just go in straight worship and start singing worship and I make no apology for it. And you'll just have to just witness me until whenever, 20, 30 minutes later, me just singing worship songs to God. And so my secret passion is literally singing songs to my Heavenly Father.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Laterra, for again joining us today. I'm about to send this podcast to all my friends. Listen to it was a richful discussion, and so if anything resonated with our audience and to those who are listening, leave us a comment. And if you'd like to be a guest or want to suggest a topic, just email us at millennialbabespodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, bye everyone.